I am here today to discuss Japan and its international business practices. I thought it would be interesting to discuss some laws, policies, and unspoken etiquette that I noticed throughout my research for this assignment. Some in comparison to the United States, some unique to Japan. I'll also discuss working conditions and give my take on moving there for business. Some differences, policies, and laws. Japanese workplaces are more formal. You all know that scene of the crowded city sidewalk, briefcase, black suit, black tie, white shirt. The only chance for expression is which way you part your hair. While many Americans find themselves with an occupation that they can sit at home in sweatpants and lounge on the couch and finish a whole day's work. Horenzo, or as the Japanese would call it, Horenzo. Many companies are micromanaged and live by the mantra of Horenzo, a mnemonic device that combines the first syllables of three verbs: hokuku, which means to report; renbaki, which means to contact; and sudan, which means to consult. Meaning that the entrepreneurial mindset that is promoted in companies in the States here is intentionally suppressed in Japan. It's much of a do-as-you're-told, authoritative environment, which I suppose you could find in the U.S., but it's much less opportunity to express your opinion in Japan. Japan does have sexual harassment and anti-discrimination laws that are similar to the U.S., but doesn't really have a legal obligation to ensure equality in the workplace other than having to annually report their percentage of disabled employees, which the rule here is if you have more than 45.5 employees, then you must have 2.2% of them be disabled and provide reasonable accommodations for those employees to be successful in that role. So what are those working conditions like? We'll start with vacations. I read a story of a 33-year-old engineer, father of two, works for a tech company, and was only allowed 2 days off last year, even though the company offered him 20 days off annually. And that's not uncommon in Japan either. In fact, the article I read said that only 52.4% of people actually used all of the time for the paid leave that they earned. The ones that didn't were asked why they didn't, and the main reply was some form of feeling guilt or a threat of being replaced. And this unspoken expectation of endless hours of labor is actually coined a phrase in Japan. It's called karoshi, or as the Japanese would call it, karoshi. Karoshi translates into death by overwork and claims up to 10,000 deaths per year. If the employee doesn't succumb to karoshi, then they will have access to Japan's universal health care, which means that individual income makes less of an impact in influencing the quality of care, and that's because the fee schedule for medical care is uniform across the nation, meaning everyone pays the same prices, so everyone gets the same care. The retirement plan is something to address also. If you were self-employed or a farmer or aged 20 to 60 years as a part-time employee, then you would probably qualify for Japan's national pension, which is around $611 a month for your 40 years of service. Or full-time private sector employees can be placed in different tiers with different benefit options, but average $822 a month for their lifetime of labor. So how does this play into a decision on moving to this country? I think that Japan sounds like it's limiting its potential of the people in their community by not listening to the voices of the company. In America, we're given every opportunity and resource to provide for ourselves. So when it comes time for retirement, we don't necessarily need to rely on the government to fund our expenses or worrying about budgeting through our elderly years. Personally, Japan does not seem like the place for me. In my list I was instructed to make before this assignment, I listed opportunity for advancement, pay, amount of time demanded, and allowing independence for the things that are important to me at work. And dependable, communicative, and aware as organizational values that I expect. Japan and I agree that we should all be working for a larger cause, but do not align because of the manner that the progress is achieved. I don't like the sound of someone speaking up on my actions in the workplace and saying that someone led me to a great moment. I'd much rather them acknowledge that in that moment, I was great. That's not me being a stickler with words. That's me wanting the credit I would give if the roles were reversed.